Let us go. What a time to be alive. We are live on the DLF channel. And Justin, that is huge. That is huge. Justin, how are you doing tonight?
Good, man. First time we're doing one of these together. Again, it's nice to have you obviously on the channel and like here full time. That's very nice.
No,
It's nice to have. I think people are gonna be happy to see it's not just Addison and I saying the same things for 12 months. I think having an extra person is very helpful. So I think this has been awesome, man. I'm pumped.
No, I'm pumped. And we've been begging for a live startup mock draft. You know, Addison finally let the inmates out of the asylum. That he said, "Hey, I'm off tonight. You guys go run the show." And I said, "Okay, Addison, we'll do it for you. We'll take it up." So shout out to all you guys tuning in. Now we are filling up the draft. I think we still have some spots left. We have I see 4 of you guys have joined, 5. So we do have, what, if I can do math, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 spots left. So if you want to jump in, it's in the chat, in the sleeper chat. Shout out to Drew C for being here. Yo, appreciate you for tuning in, my guy. But like I said, once we get this draft up and live, we will get this thing started. So jump in if you can. It's going to be a good night where we're just trying to see where some of these values are lying in the Dynasty landscape. A lot has changed over the last year, last few weeks, last month. I know I was just having to fill Justin in. Justin was prepared at the 104 to take, I don't even know, Kyler Murray. I think that's who you mentioned. But
I had to convince
I had to convince you that wasn't the way that you you needed to go. So you know, I'm glad I'm here to keep you.
Kyler. Kyler's the clear 104. Everybody, that's common knowledge. Everybody knows that. No, I mean, look, it's startup season. It's rookie season. That is by itself very fun. And look, I was telling you before this, I have not joined a startup this year. I've been very proud of myself for not joining a startup this year, which I think is generally very difficult to avoid. So I'm interested to see just how this plays out. Because look, I look at ADP. That's what we do all the time on this channel, just when we're making content. But seeing how it plays out with real people during a real draft is always entirely different. Like what you're going to see even today is probably going to vary from any of your own startups. Like this is just to get your baseline. And then from there, usually it's always just pure chaos.
No, 100%. And if you are one of the 17 viewers right now, we need you desperately because we have 6 spots open in this startup. Like we said, this is going to be Superflex. I'll put us over it. Superflex, tight end premium, start 10 with the 3rd round reversal. So if you want to be a part of this for DLF history, come join because this is a major thing. Addison said, he said, the people don't want startup mocks. And I said, no, I think we do. I want it for sure. And so, like I said, as we kind of wait to see this fill out, so Justin, you haven't done a startup yet. I have a projected one scheduled after the NFL draft. Who right now is kind of somebody that you're targeting? I know we put out buy sell videos pretty much monthly on this channel, but I wanted to see, are you trying to make any trades right now as we kind of wait for this draft to fill up?
I mean, in my own leagues, it's less fun than last year. I'm trying to sell my rookie picks, man. I want out from underneath them. I don't, unless it's Ashton Genty, I don't really want the pick. Like I've hit that point in the rookie cycle, which I usually don't get to. Because look, like some of the trades I've made, the one that I'm really happy with, I traded in a Superflex league, no premium, just PPR Superflex. I traded the 109 and the 110 for T. Higgins. Like those are the kind of deals I love. I love taking advantage of that. Because look, give me proven elite wide receiver. Maybe elite's a stretch, but proven really good wide receiver. And like I think that usually plays out better than, 2 dart throws in what feels like a very mediocre or like non-difference making class right now, aside from maybe some of the running back depth.
No, for sure. We are 4 spots away. Link is right here to any of the 28 viewers. Please join up. We would love to have you guys join for this Dynasty Startup mock draft. Now, one trade, Justin, that I made recently, and I talked about it in one of my videos when it came to the 2025 picks, is I did trade away. I had the 101. I went full complete tank. But this team was absolutely awful. It's just it's a wasteland. I have some good quarterbacks. I have some decent wide receivers, but really it wasn't anything to say I needed Ashton Genty and that was going to take me to the moon. So I did trade the 101 for Brian Thomas Jr. Was very happy to get that, really happy to get that trade done. Because I think for me, I think Brian Thomas Jr. is on the trajectory to get into that top 4. I know right now he's like wide receiver 5, so it's not like a fair thing, but he's kind of fluttered over the last few 2 to 3 weeks, anywhere between wide receiver 7 to wide receiver 5. But I think he could take that next Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson step. Him and Neighbors, I think we'll be competing for that, and we could be talking them as top 3 dynasty wide receivers at the end of next season for sure.
Yeah, I mean, that top group right now, it's interesting because it's like none of them are in the back half of they're firmly in their primes. So like it's very interesting from that perspective because look, like BTJ is a bona fide superstar, but we haven't seen him hit that gear for a full season. If that happens, like it happened for Neighbors, it basically as a rookie, yeah, beat like that top tier. Maybe he doesn't replace somebody up there. I think it just expands because like we're not moving Justin Jefferson because he turns 26. Yeah. We're not moving CeeDee Lamb. Maybe Amon-Ra St. Brown falters a little without Ben Johnson. Like that's maybe the weakest link in the top 4 where BTJ could kind of jump and get ahead of him there. And like that's the hard part. So I mean, trading Gentry for BTJ for longevity's sake, I think that's a great move though by itself.
I've even seen crazier things done right now where people are trading like Bijan Robinson or Jahmyr Gibbs for Ashton Gentry. And I know we talked about this. Me and Ashton talked about this in a video about a week ago, and people in the comments were saying, "Caleb, that's absolutely asinine. I can never imagine trading my Jahmyr Gibbs or Bijan Robinson shares for Ashton Gentry." I'm like, people are doing it. Like, type in Dynasty Daddy, go see what live trades are. People are 100% in leagues doing it now. Is it your league? Maybe not. Maybe you got some sharp drafters that are in your league, but I was shook. I was like, hey, if I know I can get a Bijan Robinson, if I know I can get a Jahmyr Gibbs for Ashton Gentry, Brian Thomas Jr., Puka Nacua, sign me up. Even like Amon-Ra St. Brown would be someone that I would be looking to trade the 101 for. But
real quick. My sleeper chat showing full draft.
Oh,
Yours
full draft.
Showing missing 4.
It's not. Oh, we're showing missing 4. Okay, so we are good to go. Let me reload this. Okay,
give a reload there because I think
there we go. Now, question for the everyone. Thank you so much. It's going to be 1.5 Titan Premium for anyone that's asking for the chat. But let's get this thing underway, shall we? Let's draft.
Let's throw us into the corner. Make the screen a little bit bigger.
Throw it into the corner. Here we go. Not that.
That's worse. That's worse. Take a comment down. There we go.
Make the comment down. So we got Jane Daniels at the 101. I think if I was in the 101, I almost put myself in the 101, but that's what I would have do, Justin. I think Jane Daniels, I know it's crazy. Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson as probably the top 3. We'll have to see how this draft goes, but crazy.
I'm not pulling Jaden Daniels at 101. 101's not the time to get cute with the pick. You know what I mean? Like that. I don't think that's the place to make your stamp.
Yeah.
on a pick. Like that's like just take the best player available. For me, that's Josh Allen. I get the case for Jaden Daniels, but
I have you. You are on the clock as we're counting down. Do I need to make it more longer than 30 seconds? I realize we had someone already auto draft.
You might want to throw it to 60.
Here, let's pause the draft. We'll make it 60. I wanted to make the stream move, but I also wanted to keep it fresh. So here, we reload it to resume draft here for you with 35 seconds on the clock. The top 3 options are off the board. Boom, Jalen Hurts. You kind of talked about it.
I'm sticking with the rushing upside. Like I'm sticking with push ban or not. He's gonna score on the ground, on the 1 yard line, pissing everybody off in fantasy. But like, look, Jalen Hurts is not a bad quarterback, and I think the notion that he is just not as good as some of these other guys going around him, I think is silly. And look, again, I will always take the rushing upside over the passing upside that Burrow has. Like to me, that's usually my tiebreaker is how are you going to get your points? If it's on the ground, I want that.
Ooh, so we just had a run of wide receivers. I was low-key hoping one of those guys was going to fall to me. And Bowers off the board. So you do got a guy like a Patrick Mahomes for me on the board. We got all the running backs. We got all these wide receivers as well. This is going to be interesting to see. I know what I'm going to do because I want to wait to see what falls, but I do have Brian Thomas Jr. ahead of Amon-Ra St. Brown and Puka Nacua, which might be, for some people, crazy, but I don't have it crazy.
I get it. I get the case. I'm taking Puka over him. Even I'm taking Amon-Ra over him. But I like there's a case. This is where it's like you're splitting hairs. you're doing preference because none of those three are going to be bad players. There's no scenario any of those three are like, top 20 wide receivers next year and like somehow don't make their way into the top 10. Like they're both too talented. In the case for BTJ, people are always going to say, it's I think we had somebody in the comments who's like, he was just force fed. He didn't have competition. Neither did Puka 2 years ago. Neither did Amon-Ra St. Brown 3 years ago. Like, good players don't put up that kind, or bad players don't put up that kind of production on accident. It's very rare. So I'll just take the bet on the guy that's done it. Like I'm all in on BTJ, man.
So we talked about, of course, taking Brian Thomas Jr. ahead of Genty, but then we see kind of a run of running backs here. I started off with taking Bijan, Jahmyr Gibbs, Genty. Is that the ranking that you would have for the top 3 running backs, Justin, in your rankings, or do you have Jahmyr Gibbs as the one right now? Kind of where you at in the running back landscape?
I go back and forth on this. During the middle of the season, my RB1 was Devon Achane. Like, he was just untouchable. And he's super quarterback dependent. Thing is, I think all of these guys, every running back is somewhat quarterback dependent because you need a good offense to, maintain drives, to give you scoring opportunities. Even the best running backs need that. Dude, I think that's probably I think I'm probably taking Gibbs over Bijan. And then Bijan, then probably Genty and Achane. But if you want to take any of those 4 for me as your RB1 in Dynasty, especially in a startup, I'm fine with that.
So if you guys are tuning in, this is a 3rd round reversal. So if you are drafting, just wanted a heads up on that. But funny thing that we discussed before stream, you said, hey, at the 104, I even think Patrick Mahomes, even with the value drop that he's taken over the last 2 years, should be consideration in the first. He falls all the way here into the 2nd round, which I know is kind of standard if you've kind of been in the space over the last month. He's been right around anywhere between, I would say, like 2.4 to 2.8. So kind of falls into the back range. But Q over here taking Joe Burrow, Patrick Mahomes. That's kind of a nasty start in the Superflex league.
That is. Like, Mahomes shouldn't be in the second. He should not be making his way to the 2nd round. I understand it's been rough. It's been ugly. But talent will return. Like they are figuring out this offense again. And look, you have Xavier Worthy, who's not in trouble, which is good, or got his charges dropped. Rashee Rice is gonna get healthy. They have a healthy Hollywood Brown. Maybe you get a Travis Kelce replacement this year. Like this offense will find its way with Patrick Mahomes at the helm. I don't believe he's done and washed up. Now, keep in mind, he's still the QB6 off the board. So it's not all doom and gloom. I think people just pushed the skill players higher, which I get.
I think what's happened, and we'll talk about this when I get to my pick, is I think it's not a Patrick Mahomes thing. I think this is purely right now, if you look in the dynasty landscape, there's about 20 quarterbacks that you feel pretty confident or comfortable with as your QB2. Even, potentially some of those guys on the fringe, like a QB13 to QB15 as your QB1. And I think that differential that's happened where you have the top tier of guys and then you just have a bunch of guys lower, because it used to be, we talk about the top 8 dynasty quarterbacks. And then all of a sudden there's no one that you feel comfortable with, in your QB2 spot. Now there's so many that it's like and I feel like there's less quality, like wide receivers and running backs at the top, that you almost in startups have to go get those guys at the top because you can kind of wait on quarterbacks a little bit later down the board.
The middle has expanded dramatically. Like from 2 years ago, like heading into 2024, we were coming off a season where the top 6 quarterbacks, like you said, were just light years ahead of everybody else. And then we all swung back the other way, and now the pendulum's coming back. The truth is, in reality, I think the top quarterbacks are still a lot better than everybody thinks the middling kind of QB2s are. And I think playing out this season, you're going to get that resurgence. Because, look, now teams have a full offseason to respond to what defenses changed last year, which was take away the deep pass, right? That just evaporated from the NFL. It hurt the wide receiver position. It hurt the quarterback position. I think the NFL is going to swing back the other way again. It's a pendulum. Year over year, I try not to go too high or too low based on positional outcome in each season, because it does vary dramatically. So I'm like, if I can just grab in my pick here, right, Jalen Hurts, Justin Herbert, if I can just grab 2 quarterbacks that I think are both top 7, top 8 guys, I'm going to wipe my hands, and now I never have to deal with that position ever again. I also understand waiting, though, like taking a Bo Nix. Bo Nix carries QB1 upside for sure. Like on your pick, I love the way that started. Elite wide receiver, elite running back, upside quarterback, I think is a really interesting way to start, especially if you don't land one of the top end QBs.
And I think when we're talking, so like, I still believe in Drake May. I would like that to be clear. Like Drake May, clearly right now, I would say he's the hottest dynasty asset out there on the market when it comes to someone that we've seen the potential. He's like the prince that is promised, but we're like waiting for the Patriots to do something. We're like all offseason, we're like T Higgins, and then we get Stephon Diggs, and now we're trying to convince ourselves that if Travis Hunter, who decides is going to be a full-time wide receiver for the Patriots, it's going to change Drake May. And I actually really like Drake May. So I right now have him as my QB8 in dynasty rankings. So I think it's appropriate value because I think we saw it in that, and especially in the season that he has that high end rushing floor. But Bo Nix, we actually saw it through a full season. And I mean, I'm not trying to be mean or anything, but I don't think Cortland Sutton is necessarily like the prototypical wide receiver one that's just going to dominate you for being a fantasy quarterback. And so I think seeing what he was able to do in year one, I think he needs to be a lot closer to that Drake May, Justin Herbert conversation that a lot of people are putting on. And so I feel very comfortable with my start here. But
yeah, I completely agree. Again, I mean, you're taking him 2 picks after me. Like I think that's the conversation he belongs in. I'm probably taking him over JSN. I'm probably taking him over Drake London too. Like I think I'm taking all the quarterbacks over that because I think that's where we get to this second tier of I hope they take the next step type wide receivers. Maybe not second tier, third tier, whatever you want to call it, right? Like it's just a different archetype that's going with London, JSN, McConkey. Like those are guys like we know they're good. So how good are they is a different question. And I'd rather roll the dice at quarterback because a difference maker at quarterback is huge in superflex.
No, for sure. And we got some people saying they're loving this discussion. Shout out to Dynasty Dave. Absolutely love your profile picture. And then of course, Drake May averaged like 60 rushing yards per game, but Bo Nix season wasn't saying 30 touchdowns on rookie. Yeah, he was really good. And considering the weapons. Now I know you're about to be on the clock, so I'm going to ask you a question. Hopefully you have your pick ready to go, but no, you're good. You're good, Justin. You're good.
Lights are falling.
The lights are falling. Hey, it's okay. It's that. So here, let you make your pick. But I want to talk about some wide receivers in this range.
Yeah. So this is where we're seeing Rashee Rice here. It's kind of feels like a fever dream because it feels like he shouldn't be there. And then you remember he's coming off of an ACL tear. It's an ACL, correct?
It's not an ACL. It's like something in the knee, but it's not a full ACL.
It was knee. It was ACL adjacent. Those guys always
MCL, LCL, something like that. Something L. He took an L. He took an L. That's for sure.
Those always make me skittish here. And this is where I'm looking at the quarterback position. I'm glad I don't have to take a quarterback here. There's not a lot of guys I'm overly confident in that are left. There's upside, but things I worry about. AJ Brown, this is where again, if I'm drafting here, it's do I go win now or do I continue a rebuild? Now, if I have Hurts and I have Herbert, I'm going to go win now. I'm going to take the best wide receiver I think that's on this list. Understanding you probably got 3 years of AJ Brown, where you might have 4 of T Higgins or 6 of Rome Odunze with upside. This is where that's the third round, I think, is often where you're trying to figure out what are you actually doing from a strategy perspective. You just kind of let the draft come to you. I didn't expect to draft Herbert here at the end of the second. I was not prepared for him to be there. I was probably going to go a McConkey or a young wide receiver, and that was going to shift how I looked at the draft. But now I got Hurts, Herbert in their primes. Give me a wide receiver that's in their prime, and now I can kind of round out a really dangerous top 3 for the next 2 to 3 seasons.
Well, and especially now knowing you can do some stuff on the running back landscape on the back end. You're not locked and loaded with one way. But if you guys are tuning into the stream, please hit that like button. Please hit that subscribe button to support us. We are on the way over here at DLF to 20,000 subscribers, which is a huge number, huge accomplishment. And we would love you to be a part of this journey. A lot more content to come. I know Justin and I and Addison are all prepping a ton of rookie content, a ton more strategy content coming down the line. And so we appreciate all you guys for tuning in with us on your Tuesday night. So the question,
I have a question for you. Sam Laporta in the third. Yes or no? Just blanket statement. Are you in on him at that value?
Well, no, not if I knew the players going behind. I'd rather have AJ Brown, Kyler Murray, Jordan Love, Rashee Rice, any of those guys I would take. There's even, I think the question becomes kind of in these next few picks, like, would you rather have Tet McMillan or Sam Laporta in a tight end premium league? Like, if it's no premium, of course you're going Tet, but I personally think he's more of a fourth right now. I think the third, I mean, he was going early third last year after his last offseason after his amazing rookie season. And after the down year 2, I feel like he didn't get a bump. He didn't get a bump. We were just like, it's fine.
Nobody shifted on him. Like
well,
he's in the same kind of pocket. And tight end premium to me is always kind of like a fallacy. Like, it's really great if you have Bowers, McBride, the elite of the elite, these high volume players. I don't think Sam Laporta is a high volume player. He's a touchdown dependent, clear upside tight end, but I don't think he's like a huge winner in the tight end premium format.
Like, I know you're about to pick, but like what would I rather do? Especially if I was trading or needing tight end, let me go get the cheaper George Kittle. He's, past that 30-year age apex and everyone freaks out in Dynasty when that happens. But tight ends like Travis Kelce play until 35 somehow. Now, I know his game is probably a little bit different. It's not as smooth. It's more like, let me run you over. So we're all like, probably not going to age as well. But hey, there's nobody else right now in this 49ers offense. They got rid of Debo. It's pretty much him, Brandon Ayuk, Ricky Pearsall. There's potential Brandon Ayuk. Like we said, he's coming off a major injury. Still chances that he gets traded away. I think if you need a tight end right now, George Kittle's kind of one of the better buys, especially if you're competing. If you're not competing, don't go add George Kittle. But
completely agree with that.
In tight end premium, I think and we'll have to see where he goes in this draft. But I'm not taking him on my next pick. So if anyone was getting juicy to go take a George Kittle, go do it right now. So you leave me somebody. But I'm not taking Sam Laporta in the third for sure.
Yeah, I'm with you. Going to my pick here, I took Rome Odunze. Bit of a deviation from.
I hate you. I was hoping you would fall.
I mean, look what I'm wearing. What am I supposed to?
I know who I'm talking to.
Dude, this damn light. I'm just fighting for my life today, man. It's been one of those days. But this is what I got, dude. Look, Rome Odunze sitting there. I have a strategy, but I also have fandom. And look, Rome Odunze, I have such high hopes for. He's one of those guys. If he finish, for this question to you as a non-Bears fan, if he finishes as wide receiver 19 in points per game, is that lower or higher than your expectations?
I think it would be slightly higher, but I'd also I would say right now in my rankings, and which are super early premier, like I've been getting them ready for redraft for the season for this year. I would say he's like right now sliding as my wide receiver 22. But if I know you didn't tune into this, but I had a video that came out and my first player I talked about was Rome Odunze. And I don't think I can be higher. And I think in Dynasty, I was like, I looked at your build right now, and we can just admire your team. We got 2 stud quarterbacks. You got AJ Brown to hold down the points per game as your wide receiver 1, and then you got Rome Odunze, the king who should be promised coming in down the line. And I like it. If you looked at the splits between, and I'm going to get this wrong because I don't have it right up in front of me, but between when Keenan Allen was playing with him versus out, it's literally his points per game doubled. I think he was at he went from I think it was 8 points per game to 16 or something. Don't quote me on that. It was probably a little bit lower, but it was right around that.
That's a stone cold fact.
And it's so anyway, I just think if we have Rome Odunze as the clear wide receiver 2, which you're going to have this year, and of course Ben Johnson at the helm, I'm all in on Rome Odunze. So
yeah, that's where when you're actually talk through your pick, and then I want to talk a little bit of just strategy and team building.
Yeah, no, you're good. So right now, what do we got? We're kind of in this purgatory land at the back end. This always happens to me. I'm gonna do it. It's boom. We are just going with the class. A good old JJ McCarthy. Now, this is the play. And for any of you guys tuning in, this is the reason I took JJ McCarthy. So there were some guys there like a Baker had a really good season last year. Clearly, you got a guy like a Trevor Lawrence who just got Liam Cohen to be his QB. You got Michael Penix Jr., who in the back 3 games of last season, wasn't amazing stats, but you saw the arm talent. You saw pretty much everything you wanted to see. And then JJ McCarthy, we got, like a quarter of a preseason game before he's out. And then you're like, well, Caleb, you're an idiot. why are you taking JJ McCarthy, a pick behind Brock Purdy? And the reason is going to be because if you check right now on KTC, JJ McCarthy is sliding in as QB 14. Now he has been absolutely running up the board, Justin. It's crazy, man. People are, and this is the thing. It's a value play for me where I'm looking at my team. I got a pretty young roster right now that can be flexible. So I can ride or die with a JJ McCarthy being an absolute bust. I can also ride or die with JJ McCarthy turning into a top 8 quarterback. Because I think a lot of people are assuming, hey, put JJ McCarthy next to Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, TJ Hawkinson. You got Aaron Jones in the backfield. Could he be? Absolutely. I think so. When you look at Kevin O'Connell, what he did for Josh Dobbs, what he did for Nick Mullins, I think this guy, listen, he could have me back there at quarterback and I would be putting up 12 fantasy points per game. Like, that's all you need to say. He's an absolute wizard as a quarterback developer. And so I think for him, if he's all in on JJ McCarthy, then I'm cool to then also be all in on JJ McCarthy myself. And so, yeah, as I sit here, that's, I guess, the way that I wanted to go. But then I'm back on the clock and, you know, from a team building perspective, this is, we're doing it tight end premium. We'll add the TJ Hawkinson here. This is where the fall's far enough. I know I hyped up George Kittle, but honestly, would you rather have TJ Hawkinson at 5'2" or Sam Laporte at 3'8"? I think the answer is probably TJ Hawkinson.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, the situations aren't all that different. I mean, I think the quarterback play in Detroit's better. Like, we know for a fact right now Jared Goff is playing very good or very well. We don't know if JJ McCarthy will. The assumption is he should. But you have both. You have an elite target hog at wide receiver in Jefferson and Amon-Ra. You have very good number twos or solid number twos. I can't believe I'm saying that about Jameson Williams, but a very good number two in Jameson Williams and Jordan Addison. Obviously, Jahmyr Gibbs and Dave Montgomery are significantly better than Aaron Jones and Jordan Mason. So, like, look, there's pieces. I think both these guys are going to slot in as the third, 3A, 3B, and in terms of pass catchers in their offense. I don't think the gap is all that much. And look, Hawkinson's only 27 still. It's not like he's 30, 31. He's a lot younger than it seems.
So I want to talk. There's some good questions in the chat. Dynasty Dave, thank you for also being very high on McCarthy. And then first round draft capital running backs after all those running backs in the same. So yeah, let's talk about this. So there's a few things that I also wanted to talk through in this fourth round. So after you picked Rome Odunze, we see Tyler Warren go off at the 4-6. So Tyler Warren goes off the board as the tight end 4, which is, to me, what's crazy about this in tight end premium is I know we're projecting, and you can make your pick and I'll keep talking. And we're talking about Amari and Hampton getting first round draft capital and probably being in a dynasty rookie draft, the 1-2, the 1-3, depending on who you're talking to. I know Ted McMillan went at the 1-2 if you're evaluating where the rookies went here. But Tyler Warren going ahead of Amari and Hampton, I think, was an interesting case to be made. I also see Jonathan Taylor and Kyren Williams going ahead of Amari and Hampton. I don't think I can do that, assuming we know that Amari and Hampton's going to get, middle. I would say like late first to early second round draft capital. Worst case scenario, it's early second. Like, I think that's what we've heard from NFL scouts. If it's anywhere in the first, like, oh my gosh, like, I am not taking Kyren Williams above Amari and Hampton. I'm not taking Breece Hall above Amari and Hampton. I think Amari and Hampton will get all the way up into like the third of dynasty startup mock drafts. But I just kind of wanted your opinion. We saw Jonathan Taylor, Kyren Williams. I understand they have the name recognition. They've had the fantasy football production before, but I think Amari and Hampton, someone 100% that will be making a rise depending on where that draft capital lands. Yeah,
I mean, he's going to rise dramatically because right now there's a genuine lack of young elite running back talent. There's a few that are up there, but it's not as heavy as it seems. Like when we had that 2017 class, right? Like it felt like there were young running backs in the top 10 for, it's been 8 years. So like there's just not a lot of super stable and exciting young running backs. Amari and Hampton feels like he belongs or is the next coming of one of those types of players behind Genti, and it just isn't getting the buzz or the hype. You do a startup, I think, with Amari and Hampton in a month, he's a third round pick probably.
I 100% agree. And I think the thing that people aren't considering is how old some of these running backs that we keep talking about are. Like, a lot of these running backs that have had fantasy football value, a lot of the reason is there's just been no one better to come and take their place. Like, I'm not trying to crap on Joe Mixon. Listen, I'm a Bengals fan, so I got to see Joe Mixon in the prime of his career. And last year for the Texans, like, yeah, he looked good. He was a fantasy football darling. He scored a ton of touchdowns. But I think if there were stronger rookie running back classes that came in over the last 2 to 3 years, a lot of these guys would not be the same fantasy football stars that we know. And even looking back on that 2017 class, like Alvin Kamara was a 3rd round pick. And so I think there's going to be a lot of these 2nd, 3rd round, 4th round pick running backs that are going to come into the league and absolutely surprise us and go, jumping up board. So especially if you're doing a startup right now, I would highly recommend that. And you'll see the strategy from me a little bit later on. I guess I'm giving away my theory. So it is what it is. But you'll be able to get a lot of those running backs later on. And just make sure that if you need running back in your dynasty league, like trade for some seconds right now, because there's going to be a lot of shots you can take, a lot of high upside running backs that in normal 2nd round, running backs that you draft, you won't be able to get. So,
yeah, it's a really good running back class. Like that's where I think everybody knows at this point. That's where that's where the strength is. Now, again, sometimes you get Jonathan Taylor in the 2nd. Sometimes you get AJ Dillon. So these things go in waves. Like there have always been these promising classes. So it'll be very interesting to see how it ultimately shakes out and who gets nuked. Like several of these players are going to get nuked in value. Like Zach Charbonnet. Now, maybe Zach Charbonnet's not as good as we thought he was because we've seen bits and pieces of those flashes, but he got nuked by Kenneth Walker. Like he was drafted to a team that already had a guy in place. That's going to happen. So like prepare. Some of these guys will land as just high profile handcuffs, and that's going to weed out some of this class, this group that I think I'm not really looking forward to seeing who gets absolutely screwed.
Now, the part that I'm upset about is my team, after taking TJ Hawkinson, looks like absolute cheeks, and your team with Derrick the King Henry.
I got 3 Eagles, baby.
Well, you got 3 Eagles, but you got your 2 stud quarterbacks at the top. We went three. I mean, Devontae Smith, granted, the wide receiver 2 days are over, but if he's my high-end wide receiver 3, we love that in a build. And then you got the King, and you said, I'm taking everybody's money. I'm going for the chip in year 1, clearly.
If Derrick Henry's there, and I'm looking at this build, like I'm not a believer in Chase Brown. I don't think he survives the draft. I think he gets meaningful competition. Like I'm not buying into Chase Brown, and given AJ Brown, given Devontae Smith, the 2 quarterbacks, I just want a running back that I know is going to give me RB1 production. And you look there, and like the only other guy that's left that feels like a locked in RB1 for 2025 at a minimum is Alvin Kamara. And I don't necessarily want to play that game and just wait 2 more rounds to see if he comes back to me. Like that's not my favorite thing to do. So I'll take a guy that carries top 5 upside and just kind of sleep well.
Quinn, I realize I roasted your Tyler Warren selection. I didn't realize that was you, Quinn. Sorry, if I would have known, I probably would have been a little bit nicer about it. But
playing favorites.
But no, Quinn's been an OG follower for a long time. So shout out to Quinn for being here. Thanks for. I understand. He said the draft capital. He said he prefers some guys later at cost, and I understand that at running back a little bit.
Fully agree.
But I think I still prefer Hampton just because we know that upside that he possesses. But as I'm looking at my team, Justin, honestly, as we're getting to it, I think I'm about to be in the Jeremiah Smith sweepstakes in 2027 is how I'm viewing my team. Because I'm looking and I'm like, man, I have 0 wide receivers besides BTJ, and I have TJ Hawkinson, which I kind of regret that pick now that I'm looking back on my team build. But as you're hosting and as you're doing the draft, it's
hard.
doubly hard to feel good about your squad as you're building it out. So
what I will say is that build, BTJ Bijan makes a ton of sense to start. Going year 2 QB is interesting.
Hey, you know what? We thought we didn't think through some things. I was going for value. I was like, what can I trade JJ McCarthy for instead of being like, what can this dude do for me on the field? Because right now, as I'm staring at like wide receivers, I don't feel confident in anybody. And this one feels nasty. So this is a reach. Anybody watching, this is a reach, but we're doing it. DK Metcalf, welcome to the squad.
I don't think that's a reach.
Well, yeah, but like with the team, if you're like, yeah, he's in is he going to play next to Jeremiah Smith in my lineup in 2027? I don't know, but we'll figure that out.
Here's the thing. I get being on this and drafting is hard. You think the reason I chose Devontae Smith because I was like, oh, I can't have both Bears wide receivers. That's where my brain went. I was like, I can't take a Dunze and Dean anymore. So I took that. And I was like, oh shit, I got AJ Brown and Jalen Hurts. So like, this is harsh. This makes this 10 times harder.
This is why I will never do, for any people that like watch like other people live stream, they're like, this is a real money league, and they're like drafting and talking about it. I'm always like, there's no way this is real money, because when I've ever done it, now my team is cheeks, and I'm struggling.
When I'm drafting real leagues, I sit in dead silence and I stare at the computer for like 2 hours. I don't do anything else.
This is all I do.
I'm locked in rather than trying to talk and sound smart for an hour. It's very hard. It's very difficult. So where are you going here then? You got DK. I feel like you feel like you're scrambling.
I do. I feel like the pick here is this, and it's not for anything other than I think the value here with Bryce Young. I as much as I believe the Panthers need to address defense in the NFL draft, I just have this sneaky suspicion that there's a landing spot for our good boy Ted McMillan in the Carolina Panthers organization.
Oh, I think they have to be close to the favorite to land Ted.
And so, but I think the argument is they can't stop anybody. They were 32nd in defense last year in pretty much all the major metrics. So it's like, but as we know with good old Dave Canales, he says, forget about defense. We're going to win by just scoring the ball more. And I think everything that we saw from Bryce Young last year, especially at the end of the season after his benching, there was a lot of improvement there. And I think as somebody that, a few years ago, we were valuing Bryce Young as the QB2 of his rookie class. I think most people had, after the combine, Anthony Richardson there. And then I think most people were taking Bryce Young over CJ Stroud, or it just depends. I think everyone had a flavor. I personally lean CJ Stroud. You guys see the jersey behind me, but that's just because I'm a Buckeyes fan. There was zero bias. There was 100% bias, but there was zero analysis on why CJ Stroud was better than Bryce Young. But I do think Bryce Young can get back to being in that early fifth to late fourth startup conversation. And so if I can get him here on my build, especially like I said, if we're planning on addressing some running backs later in the draft and adding in some wide receivers, and like we said, maybe 2025 is not my year, and we're going for this good old 2026 class. You know what? This is actually a funny topic that I want to bring up before you make your next pick. A lot of people are already starting to discuss and throw away the 2026 pick. I saw I follow a bunch of people in the space and that are my good friends. And some of them have started to say, hey, just start trading away all your 2026 picks. And I'm like, okay, I understand it. If I'm looking at next year's class, it's just, there's not this year we kind of knew Genty, you had Ted McMillan, who we had Luther Burden, last year. These are the type of guys we're talking about. Even Hampton, Travion Henderson to an extent. And I think all of them, there was a little bit of variance, but there's more people that have, of course, came up last year. But I think going into next year, you're like, man, in this 2026 class, people are like Arch after 1 year of starting at Texas. That's who they're we're hoping is going to save the 2026 class.
Nick Singleton, who just wasn't that good.
Yeah, Nick Singleton, Carnell Tate, who got beat out by Jeremiah Smith at Ohio State to be the wide receiver one. I don't know.
It's rough.
It's rough. And so I think if you can't, and this is the thing that I think is hard, is people are saying to sell those picks. But the issue is I think a lot of people are like, well, who am I selling it for? And they're already starting to hear the rumblings from Dynasty creators. And I know none of us have. I'm actually going to be putting out a video here in the next few weeks talking through 26 and 27 picks. But hearing that and all of a sudden just assuming, okay, I got to go trade all my picks. But I think the thing in this, I don't know how you play Dynasty, Justin. This is we've gotten to know each other here over the last few months. But when people start to zig, I like to zag. And so if you're going to sell me a 26 pick cheap because you think these guys are not going to be good and no one's going to emerge, nope, I don't even care. Even if this class is 2022, which I would argue is probably the weakest class that we've had in the last 5 years.
Yeah, I'd agree.
I mean, those picks, you still had people hyping up Garrett Wilson, Drake London, even with Kenny Pickett being the only, round one quarterback, those picks still had value. And so I think I still want to be buying into 26 picks. And especially if you're a contender, you don't typically can buy cheap rookie picks, so you typically don't. You just shop all your future picks for proven out production. But
What
hey,
I'd say to the 2026 pick value is it's picked up steam on Twitter. It's picked up steam on the YouTube channels. Like the leagues I play in with people that are wholly unrelated to those spaces. They want to buy 2026 first round picks because they're first round picks. That has not made its way into the general market. So yeah, in leagues where I'm playing with people that make content or people that are known for this kind of stuff, yeah, I'm still buying picks because okay, I can buy cheap picks. People will reverse course in 6 months as they typically do, and then they'll reverse course again 3 months into the season, and then in April everybody's gonna be saying to buy picks. Like it's draft picks go up in value. It is almost it is one of the few guarantees in life. People get over the top. Did Caleb Johnson go? Damn it! Sorry,
he did. I saw that, and I was
I
was kind of like, why did I take Bryce Young? I do like me some Caleb Johnson. I thought that was a good pick.
A gut punch. Really, just thought that I got 7 seconds. Oh, well, this is terrifying.
No, you're good. Also, shout out to Drock. He absolutely went. The team in front of you went absolutely so hard with this competitive roster, and I'm loving it. Like,
yeah, that's a title.
That's I joked with you that you're going to take the money. No, I think he just cemented.
He got
a nice little paycheck right there for himself. He was like, "There's two guys that are just bumbling on stream, drafting alongside me. It's a 10-team draft for him, and that's how he's taking it and running with it." So, shout out to this guy, being an absolute monster.
I will say I did grab Kittle. I think I got to breeze over that in the 7th, like end of the 7th. That just feels late. In tight end premium, look, I don't love this. I do have a relatively older build. Kittle though is look without Deebo Samuel, potentially without Brandon Ayuk to start the year, and then maybe he gets traded at the draft. Like I think George Kittle is going to be very, very safe this year, and he showed last year. Like he's not done at 31 years old. Like he is far from it. So I think we talked about him already, but I just love the upside of Kittle, and just he feels forgotten among just the good tight ends.
So this is something that I wanted to bring up with you when it comes to and I miss seeing Travis Hunter go at the 7-4 too. That was a juicy pick. That could pay off dividends. But when you're in a startup, do you prefer to draft for like thinking through your starting lineup in September, or do you like to draft for value? Because I think there's kind of I've always been a value. I'll figure out my lineup later because we all know people are going to all of a sudden decide their team stinks and they're not going to win the championship after a startup early on. You're also going to have the people that believe they're going all in and they're trading all their future picks to get picks in the startup. So it just kind of matters. But where are you at in regards to lineup versus just strategy?
I'm a value drafter. I'm not setting a lineup in April. I'm not setting a lineup in May. Like it doesn't matter until like 2 days before week 1. I'm like, oh, it's time to figure out my lineup if I have to. If I already don't feel semi-comfortable. And that's the thing with Dynasty is people get super hung up on contending or rebuilding, right? So we gear a lot of our content towards that. But 9 times out of 10, if you're in a 12-team league, there's only 8 teams, 7 teams that are actively trying to make the playoffs at any given time. You can buy and poach competitive players, like competitive assets away for cheaper when there's just like this disparity or dearth of teams that are actually trying to be competitive. So like I'll happily draft for value. My lineup can usually limp along, get close enough to the playoffs. And then if I really feel like I have a shot, then I'll make moves and fill my lineup mid-season. But like I'm generally not worried about it until, I'm either looking outside the playoffs, I was trying to make them, or I just have a glaring hole from injury or something like that.
So one of the things that I enjoy most about doing startups or startup mock drafts, especially around this time, is just to see where values go. Because I think you see what like kind of some people in the DLF community think, and you see the startup screenshots all over Twitter and other YouTube channels as well, which I think is helpful. Right here at the 9-2, I just got Travis Etienne. Now, very, very, very terrible year last year. I hear that, but this is a question that I want for you, Justin. Tyrone Tracy went ahead of Travis Etienne. Are you taking Tyrone? If someone, let's say that you had Tyrone Tracy and you could flip him from Travis Etienne in one of your leagues, are you doing that deal?
What makes me mad is I have to hesitate to think about it. That makes like if you guys have watched it, I was a diehard. I was like ETN's the freaking truth. He is so good, and he's just kind of not. Like that's a real gut punch. It's him and Tank Bigsby. I think. Look, they're not. I don't know if they picked up his 5th-year option or not, but they shouldn't have if they did. Tyrone Tracy's probably safe this year because Dable and them came back. They have 1,000 other holes to fill on this offense aside of running back. I think Tracy's probably going to outscore ETN this year, barring like a Tank Bigsby injury.
I think I'm just a sucker for Travis Etienne. I think I'm probably living in like rookie, prospect bias, looking back and be like, he was a first round,
I know.
NFL draft pick. And yes, I agree. I think the Jaguars shouldn't pick up his 5th-year option. I agree with that. But I think upside is that he lands on a new opportunity, a new team. Because I think the biggest thing, and I will move us out here now so everyone can see the draft board. I think the biggest thing with him is we just haven't seen that receiving upside. And they haven't used him in the receiving game. And part of that has just been because of his overall production, his overall health. I don't know. I guess I just can't get off Travis Etienne, and the price just continues to go down. But I hear you, Justin, where you're coming from.
It's tough because like I was all in on the dude, and like they've given him opportunity, but at this point, is he that much different from Najee Harris?
No, I don't think he's that much different. But I mean, I would argue that I still prefer Travis Etienne over Najee Harris. I think the Chargers are taking another. They're going to take somebody in the draft, and I think for
the only
those,
difference is Etienne already has that guy.
Correct, but this is the question though. Are you like, let's say the Chargers, they draft somebody in the 3rd round, like let's say 3rd, 4th round. I think I'm more scared of that guy than I am of Tank Bigsby, if I'm being honest.
It'll be interesting with Liam Cohen, just because obviously Doug Peterson's gone. Like that's a big part of this is Doug Peterson is not there anymore. So what do those splits look like? I wouldn't be surprised if the Jags drafted a guy in the 4th round. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if they got additional competition in a good running back class. Like, that's the thing that makes me nervous. Is like there's a world where I think him and Bigsby both get additional competition. They've just been both so inefficient on the ground for 2 years now. It's really difficult to be like, yeah, this is. I trust the upside. Now he's pulled in. He pulled in 50 targets last year. That's not easy to do. Like you have to earn that.
Yeah.
But still, God, I wish I could be more excited about him.
So let's talk through this comment from FX. And like I said, guys, I'm reading the chat. So if I haven't put out the comments, we're reading the chat. We want to get you guys involved with stream. But this question, I'm taking like the top 15 running backs in this class over Tank and ETN. Now, I think that I understand the sentiment. I 100% do. I think the issue is not knowing landing spot because I don't think the Jags are taking anybody of significance. I mean, they might take a running back, but it's probably not going to be until like 5th, 6th, 7th round to be
or
the
if they
RB3.
take Devin Neal.
Well, if they take Devin Neal, we're going to feel a little different about this because I am. If anyone tuned into my rookie running back rankings, I'm pretty high on Devin Neal. So
yeah, I know.
So then, therefore, get out of here, Travis Etienne. It's the Devin Neal show. I'm all over that. But I do think it depends. I can't see how the Jacksonville Jaguars, with having what they've invested into Tank Bigsby and Travis Etienne, but it is also a deeper class. And so I do think, as much as my bias wants to say we're not going to get somebody like that in a landing spot, but there's just too many running backs that are going to get added to some of these backfields. Like I think the Jets are going to take a running back at some point, which is going to muddy the waters with Breece Allen, Braylon Allen, and potentially whoever else. I mean, they already talked about Isaiah Davis being the 3rd hammer. They'll just add the 4th. But I think a lot of those situations that we think are like up in air, they'll 100% get competition out of, which is another reason that I'm not buying a ton of running backs right now. Like people in a few leagues, and I know I'm rambling here, but I'll get it back to you, Justin, but are like trying to sell Breece Hall high. And I'm like, hey, the moment another running back gets added to that backfield, boom, that's when I can go buy low. So I don't know. Are you trying to buy any running backs right now? Or are you just saying, hey, I'll wait until after the draft or I'll take a draft pick, or kind of how are you valuing that?
I get burned on this every season. I'm like, I'm going to buy a running back and just make the bet they don't get content, that they don't get competition added. And I'm wrong every damn time. Like, I think I'm scarred. Where I'm just gonna, I'm gonna sit back, wait a month, just twiddle my thumbs until I see who survived, and I'll pay the price, because like most of the time that discount isn't or has not become meaningful enough that even if they survive or if they don't survive, I'm like, it's cost me, maybe a better second round pick instead of my late second. It's my early second. It's like I would have just rather just kept the late second at that point because he got nuked. So it's just I'm kind of off of that that path this time of year, especially with this class. That's the other part is like there's 10, 15 guys that could nuke a backfield and just make this entirely significantly more unenjoyable.
So one of my favorite buys at tight end just went Tucker Kraft, and the Green Bay Packers have added 0 weapons. I would have loved to see Jordan Love get somebody because that's unfortunate that we have my Jaden Reed, who I continue to pray breaks out in year 3. Didn't happen in year 2 fully, but they didn't add anybody, and we still got Christian Watson, who's going to be coming off of injury. So it's really, I would argue that Tucker Kraft's like the number 2 option. Maybe not. Maybe the circa day 1, depending what they do in the draft. But I love me some Tucker Kraft. How are you feeling about the tight end landscape, and where do you value? Like I value Tucker Kraft ahead of a guy like Don Kincaid.
Tucker, I am very confident the Packers are adding a wide receiver. I think like when you watch them lose in the playoffs, they don't have a guy. Like they don't have that guy. Forget about what all their fans said. They don't have 30 wide receiver ones on the roster. They're not all superstars. They have a bunch of very average to above average wide receivers. They don't have a guy. And I think they're going to try to fix that. That's my expectation. Now, look, is it Tet McMillan? I don't know if he makes it to them. I'd be shocked if he did. Is it Emeka Egbuka? Luther Burden feels redundant to Jaden Reed. So maybe take him out. Maybe it's Trey Harris, Matthew Golden. I know people like, but his buzz is higher. I think they find a way to add a guy in this draft in the first or second round, and then it's more of the same where Tucker Kraft, I think, is going to feel kind of touchdown dependent as they try to spread this around to their 31st wide receiver one they have on the roster or whatever it is.
No, I agree with you. I think it's going to depend, but
here's a question. Is there, aside from rookie year production, situation wise, Tucker Kraft and Sam Laporta?
See, that's the thing that's crazy is like, you can make the case that Tucker Kraft right now, I think right now, if you look on Keep Trade Cut, he's like anywhere hovering between like tight end 8 to tight end 10. That's kind of where he's been like the last 2 months. I think you could make the case that if he has a very strong year this year, that Tucker Kraft should probably break into the top 6, if not top 5 of dynasty tight ends. And that, I'm not saying, I don't, he's not on Trey McBride, Brock Bowers level. Clearly, don't hear me out when I say that. Those are the top 2 guys. I think the only guys that could potentially get there are a guy like a Tyler Warren, essentially getting, or maybe Kyle Pitts, because everyone in the community absolutely loves him. Just having that insane year 4 breakout that we always continue to just hype up every year. I don't think that's going to happen either. So anyway, I think Tucker Kraft has the upside to get into the top 5 tight end, and so if you're feeling like,
I don't think that's in the range.
You don't think so?
I don't think that there's not enough volume for him. Like if we can look at last year, and I think collectively all agree, super average wide receiver group, like there was not an alpha. He pulls in 15% of the targets in a pretty mediocre group. Now he's growing, he's getting better. There's obviously an improvement on year 1. But it's like, what's the path if they're adding another talented wide receiver and not really losing anybody, at least for this season? I think maybe he tops out 17, 18% on the target spectrum, but that's not going to be enough to get you 5 unless you're putting up 12 touchdowns.
I just think the only players that I'm scared about getting added to this team that I think would hurt Tucker Kraft is Tet or Luther. Like even if they add a Golden, even if they add a Nemeka Buka, like even in round 1, like I'm not even Trey Harris, like I'm not feeling that much like it's going to eat into Tucker Craft. Like I think that just gets added into the whole like kind of wide receiver bucket, but that also could be just my opinion on this wide receiver class, which could be 100% wrong.
Yeah, because whenever I come to tight ends, any tight end, I always think like, do you have a path to be the number 1 or number 2 option on that offense? I don't know if Tucker Craft does. That's my concern. Because like if you're not there, unless you are in the absolute best offense in the NFL, it really doesn't matter. You got to score 12 touchdowns, 10 touchdowns. That's fluky. So like they like Dalton Kincaid, Tucker Craft, Colston Loveland might even fall in that bucket. David Njoku, like a lot of those guys, they're all kind of the same. Like I don't know if there's enough meaningful differentiation when you get to that group to really make it to get me to sway strongly on any of those players.
So we are getting to almost the end of this, but
you got Najee.
I did after our talk, I was like, but I was like, I need running back, I need an RB3. So I was like, you know what, screw it. I know he's got some sort of role this year, slide in my team. And you know what though? I'll sell him to you, Justin. Give me your first next year and I'll give you Najee Harris.
Yeah, kick rocks.
Okay. I'll take your 203. Okay,
easy pick. Easy. I love that. Yes.
No, great. But if you guys are tuning in, we definitely want to be doing more lives. We've definitely talked about this internally. So if you guys do like this content, please let us know in the comments. Give us a like. Like I said, if you guys are new to the channel, please subscribe. We want to make sure that we are putting out the content that you guys find valuable and that you guys enjoy tuning into. So definitely appreciate all you guys for tuning in.
Man, I'm just looking. It thins out so fast.
It does.
I'm looking here. It's just it's so ugly.
The one thing I will add though about this year startups versus like previous years is I feel like it gets ugly later. Like I feel like this year in recent years, I feel like you'd get to like the middle of the 7th, 8th, and you'd be like, this is terrible.
Mm-hmm.
I only felt like it started to get pretty ugly like in the 10th.
Like Jackson Dart, and I was I feel like he got ugly in the 9th. I'm taking Jackson Dart.
Okay, but like Jackson Dart could be a first-round quarterback. He might be an early second, but even still, I think that's great value.
No, I like that there, but I was like, it doesn't feel good. It doesn't feel good taking Jackson Dart right now. Nobody's excited about that.
Yeah. Would you rather have Jackson Dart or Deebo Samuel? Like Deebo Samuel's 30 years old. He's literally a Twinkie away from retirement.
Jackson Dart,
like,
for sure. Deebo Samuel is a human Twinkie.
I can't listen. I cannot judge a man's weight because I am not over here the most fit myself. So I'm not like over here. Like I always laugh because people are like, oh, these guys on Twitter. And like, I just have fun with it. But he's a bowling ball for sure. Like I imagine trying to tackle Deebo Samuel. I couldn't.
No, hard pass. I can't tackle a single person in the NFL. I am 5'8". What am I going to do?
I'm just your average guy at home screaming at the television on why they can't run faster as I go out and run my nice 6'5". Actually, that's probably generous. 7'2", 40-yard dash.
Peak athleticism.
Peak athleticism, exactly. So you went with Ramondre.
I'm rounding out my running backs. Ramondre this late, I can live with. I think they got bigger problems than running back. I expect it to be him and Gibson again. So we'll see. But that's just like I'm here. I don't love any of the running backs left. Generally not taking them in this range if I don't have to.
So FX has been super active in the chat. So shout out to FX. He said to us, what are our favorite teams of this startup? And I think that's a valuable question. FX, I know you're asking that because you want me to say you. Everyone always wants me to say you, but I mean, if I'm looking through the teams, honestly, the one that just stands out to me is Drew with his, like, I feel like he really rounded out his roster, and then he got Geno Smith as his QB3 after absolutely hammering, wide receiver and running backs that are competitive assets. So I really like Drew's team personally. If I'm going full contender, if I'm just going for like full value perspective as a whole,
I kind of like team on the 12th spot here.
Team
Just
of
if you
12
start with Puka, Amon-Ra,
and
JSN,
Jackson, and then get T-Law. But how do you
Lawrence. I like Lawrence. I still think he's fine.
would you have taken Lawrence over JJ McCarthy if in your rankings, like if you were drafting?
I think I might have. I wasn't super high on McCarthy coming out, to be honest. And like, I haven't seen anything to move me off of that, obviously, because he's been hurt. I'd probably stick with Lawrence. Actually, I don't know.
Hey,
God, it depends what you're trying to do. If you're trying to win, I feel like I feel more comfortable with Lawrence right now with Liam Cohen than I do with McCarthy coming off of an injury.
So I will say this, as you guys see the jerseys behind me, and I always say this, like I have Ohio State bias. Like, so like, of course I hate JJ McCarthy because of him just absolutely like stabbing me in the heart. I didn't think he was a great quarterback coming out. I honestly had him still behind Penix and how it all fell. I probably would have still taken Bo Nix ahead of JJ McCarthy. But I understand why the Vikings did it. Or did he go after? I'm forgetting how all this fell down. Bo Nix went before
Bo
JJ
Nix
McCarthy.
went before him.
Before. So
did he? No.
Nah, the Vikings traded up, didn't they? Anyway, they were all in the same range.
Yeah.
The thing is JJ McCarthy in this first preseason game before he got hurt had maybe the greatest highlight tape since Tavon Austin that I'd ever seen. And so therefore
we can't do this with preseason.
Stop. I'm serious. Like, and ask anybody that's a Vikings fan. There were serious rumors that he was going to actually beat out Sam Darnold as a starter last year. And so, hey, listen, I'm not saying I'm a Vikings fan. I'm not, but I'm just saying put this man next with Kevin O'Connell. We could be talking about JJ McCarthy absolutely being a top 10 dynasty quarterback. I do agree though. The one thing though, just that I'll add, he would have to have some touchdown rushing upside, I think, to get him there. Because if we're comparing him to guys like a Bo Nix or like a Drake May, like those guys have the rushing upside. And JJ McCarthy, he's not a stick. But he's also, we would say he's Jaden Daniels. So it's like, we got to see what that rushing upside actually holds.
Look, he's coming off of an injury. Like that's the thing that always scares me in year one is like the player you're going to see year one is not the player he's going to be for his career. Because he's going to be more mobile in year two, or I guess now year three, than he is in year two. So like that's the big thing is, does he get out of that year healthy? And what kind of upside does he flash? And like rookie quarterbacks they always scare me having to rely on them. And I'm just still lumping him in with the rookie class because we haven't seen him yet. I generally stay away from rookie QBs and startups because it is such a hard position to scout. Like sitting here staring at a camera, it's nearly impossible. Guys that spend their entire careers doing it barely know how to do it. I don't love going that route in the startups.
Well, to be fair, they don't even know how to do it. They spend millions of dollars and they get them wrong every stinking year.
I've learned my lesson on Twitter. I kind of stopped just commenting on like this quarterback's going to be good or bad. I'm like, you know what? I'll find out in 2 years with the rest of you because my opinion does not matter on that.
I have a bold take. I think if an NFL team would hire some dynasty analysts to be their scouting department for running backs or wide receivers, we'd do really good. Anything else is off the table. Our O-line, our defense would stink. Our quarterback probably would stink too because we'd have no idea. But hey, you know what? When we see that running back run and have the right BMI score, you better believe we're drafting him and he's on our team. Every year we're getting a rookie. We're just loading it up. We're going to run
nonstop rookie running backs.
We're going to have the wishbone offense back there. We're going to have a new rookie running back every year, adding to the three back. So. But FX said he wanted Drew C's 2026 first and 2027 first, please. I think that's going to be. Is that going to be late?
Agree.
You want his first because those are. You think that? Those are going to be late.
2027, not 2026.
Sure, but he said 2026 too. So
I don't want that.
That's the 112.
That's the 112, my guy.
But yeah, it might be the 1-2, 1-3 the next year. If you got Lamar Jackson, like that's. Lamar Jackson and Kyle.
All four of those wide receivers could cease to exist.
That's true. Papa Dunk said, "Don't sleep on Papa Dunk's boomer bust team." Papa Dunk, you have Allen, London, Love, Higgins, Waddle, CMC. You went pretty competitive right there too. Isaiah Pacheco as your RB3. Where do we think, Justin, is Isaiah Pacheco going to get? Is he going to get replaced?
Yeah. They should get competition. But it's Andy Reid, so he'll get another like 5th round running back. we'll all lose our minds. It'll be Darwin Thompson's season all over again. And it's just going to be that. And he'll probably end up beating Pacheco out in the middle of the year when we all think it's dead in the water. So just prepare for that. I think you're fine.
No, for sure. And then Papa Dunk said CMC can still break fantasy. Yes, he can. And then Pacheco is gone. But hey, they re-signed Kareem Hunt. You know, the dream's still alive. Kareem Hunt, the legend, is just continuing to stick around. So is he going to be RB2? Is he going to be RB3? Maybe he'll be RB1. You never know. You know, actually, I would argue this, Justin. Kareem Hunt is the new Jerick McKinnon. Like, you don't think he's going to be the guy that you want for fantasy for the Chiefs, and then he just always turns into that guy. That's who he's turning into. He's just
never going away.
Never going.
It's exhausting. It's exhausting. I'm ready for him to be done.
Exactly. Well, we appreciate all you guys for tuning in to this Startup Mock Draft live stream tonight. If you haven't already, please hit that like, subscribe button if you're here. If you guys want to see more of this content, please let us know in the comments down below. We'd love to do more live streams down the way. Just be able to interact with you guys. You guys are the best. And anyway, Justin, any final words to actually, you know what? Rob wants to talk about his team. You know, Rob, you know what? I was just about to end the stream, but you know, since you're being so demanding, we'll talk about you because you put in this whole night with us. Justin, RV Irene. He wants a grade on his team and how he did. So we got.
I love the first 3 picks.
Yeah, Jefferson, McBride, HN.
Huge Trey McBride fan. I'm a huge Devon Achane fan.
When Arai was taking Kyron Williams over Hampton, I think Goff
is a mistake. He scares the crap out of me. He really scares me.
Yeah, but I mean, I think it was. I mean, if he was running another running back, I see why he would do that. I honestly think. I really think it's just I like the Goff pick. I just would have taken Hampton earlier, but you know what? I'll give this a solid A-. You know, I think that's where the grade goes for you, Rob. So
I think if you stick even the first 5 you can live with, even if you're not a huge fan of Kyron, you see the vision. Like if you pair Jefferson with a DK or an Egbuka or like some of the even a Pickens, like the guys the wide receivers that had gone later and gotten a more solid wide receiver too, I feel way better about that team instead of having and just hoping one of Reed, Parasol, McMillan, who I love, but Godwin came back, Kupp and Diggs. Instead of hoping and assuming one of those guys is healthy or going to be productive, like a more traditional wide receiver 2, and then having that wide receiver 3 spot be the kind of the dice roll, I think I feel much more comfortable coming out of that then.
No,
but that's the only spot I think I would have gone a little bit different.
Yeah, I like your team overall, Rob. Really great team. And Papa Duck, I just want to address this comment. I appreciate you seeing me over here. The main reason I'm over here is because Addison abducted me. I had no choice.
Addison's basement.
I've been this literally right here is Addison's basement. I've been held against my will. I've been told I have to stream and make videos for DLF. Otherwise, I'm just kidding. No, it's absolutely great. I've respected Justin and Addison for such a long time and everything that they've built over on the DLF YouTube channel. And so the ability to come join the squad has been amazing. So can't say enough good things. But anyway, Justin, we've rambled along. These people need to get on with their nights. Any final words for the people?
I think we need to do more of these. That's my final word. More of these, more rookie mocks. Especially we got we got a month till the best day of the year. 2 best days of the year, arguably. So let's just get close. We're almost there.
100%. And we're going to be doing a ton more content when it comes to, like we said, rookie mock drafts, when it comes to rookie content. We're going to be putting out a ton of more content as we approach the NFL draft. Right around the NFL draft time, we're about to go crazy too. Making sure that you guys have all the information you need for your rookie drafts. Make sure that you're making the best trades. If we're doing startups right afterwards, we'll have all that content for you over here on DLF. So it's been a pleasure talking to you, Justin, as always, hanging out, but we're going to be doing this again. So we will catch all you people on the next one. Peace out.